Hi, this is Kathy Lewis from Tall Tree Designs, and today we're going to look at some cables, some specific cables that you're going to need to knit the sunlit tee that I designed. And here's a close-up of the cables that we're talking about. So you can see them here, and maybe they show up better on the lighter color. Yeah, here we go. So cables are things that we knit when we want to knit stitches out of order, and it creates this sort of crossed stitch illusion. And in this case, we're doing it with a rib, which is knit one, purl one, and it creates these sort of accentuated columns of stitches, and this makes for a really pretty cable. And we're actually going to take it one step further with this particular cable, because this cable is knit using some twisted stitches. So let's break that down and have a look at what that all really means. So I have got here a little swatch I've knit up with some twisted ribbing. Okay, so it looks similar to a regular ribbing, which would be knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, creating these columns. And the only real difference here is that instead of knit one, purl one, we're doing knit one through the back loop, purl one, knit one through the back loop, purl one. And what that's doing is twisting this column of stitches, and it makes it a little tighter. It gives it a little more definition, and I just really like the crisp look of this twisted ribbing. So if you need a little extra help with knitting through the back loop and purling through the back loop, both of which you need to do this twisted ribbing, I do have a video about how to do that. But we're going to assume that you've watched that or that you've done it before, and we're going to carry on with creating this cable using this twisted rib. So the first one we're going to do, and I've sort of written them out here for you, we're going to do a cable called 3-4 right twisted cross. Okay, so what that means is that the dominant column, the column that we're twisting, is 3 stitches wide. The column that we're twisting it over is 4 stitches wide. The R means that the cross is going to go to the right. The twisted is because we're twisting these stitches, and the cross obviously is self-explanatory. So that all sounds really complicated. It's not super complicated. All you're going to need, in addition to your regular supplies, is a cable needle, which is this one. And I'll show you how this works out. So just as a refresher, we're going to knit the first one through the back loop. So instead of coming up like this, we're going to go down through the back loop of that stitch, wrap our yarn around, pull the loop through, and pull that stitch off the needle. The next stitch is just a regular purl. And now I'm going to begin the cable. So to do this 3-4 right twisted cross, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the 4 stitches, the next 4 stitches, and put them on our cable needle. We're just slipping them from the left needle to the cable needle like this. Okay, and whenever you have a right twisting cable, that means you're going to hold your your stitches on the cable needle to the rear of your work, and it's a good way to remember. Right, rear, both start with R. Okay, and then what we're going to do is holding those out of the way, and you can see how already they're like moving to the left in behind here. With our regular needles, we're going to knit the next 3 stitches off the left-hand needle. So remembering that this is a twisted rib, the first stitch is knit through the back loop. Then we're going to purl. And then we're going to knit one more through the back loop. And all the while, you don't have to do anything with these. They're just hanging out there all by themselves in the back with no help from you. Oops, sorry, I have forgotten to move my yarn. So there, we've knit our 3 stitches in pattern from the front needle, and now we're ready to knit the stitches that we held in behind. So move your left needle out of the way and bring the cable needle up where you need it. Now, this can get confusing. When I am doing this, I want to continue in my pattern. So my next stitch needs to be a purl. Don't let it bother you that the stitch on the back was a knit. Just continue in your pattern regardless of what that stitch presents as. Knit through the back loop, purl, knit through the back loop, and now we have knit all those stitches from our cable needle. And you can see it looks a little tight and messy on that first row, but what we've done is we've moved those 3 stitches from over there, we've crossed them over those 4 stitches in the back, knit them first, and then continued with ours. So let me just knit a couple of more stitches, and we're going to see what it looks like to do it in the opposite direction. We're going to do a 3/4 left twisted cable. Okay, here we go. I'm ready to go. Sorry, one more. I want to start with the knit. So this time we want these stitches to cross to the left instead of the right. So instead of taking 4 and holding them in the back, we're going to take these 3 stitches onto our cable needle, and we're going to hold those in the front because they need to come up and to the left. So knit, purl, knit. The next stitch needs to be knit through the back loop. We're going to knit 4, purl, and again, it doesn't matter that when we do this cabling, these ones in the back aren't aligning. For example, this was a knit stitch on the previous row, and this time it's turning into a purl stitch. Where it changes will be hidden behind the cable, but we do need what shows up in front to match up and go in order. Knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1. So now that I've done the 4 from the left needle, I'm knitting the 3 from the front needle. And one more purl, knit through the back loop. Okay. And let me just do these last 2 stitches so that we can spread this out and have a good look at it. Okay. And there we have it, and you can see the difference. When we held the 4 stitches in back and knit those 3 stitches first, that created a slant to the right. It pulled those 3 stitches out of line over to the right and crossed over these 4 in the back. Okay, so we held those in the back. You're always knitting from the left needle before you're knitting from your cable needle. When you're doing a right cross, you're holding the cable needle in behind. Over here, to make it go to the left, we took the 3 stitches that we wanted to cross and held them in the front because they've got to come up to the front. And in that case, we knit 4 stitches off the left needle first, and then we did our 3 stitches in the front afterwards. And you can see how they're going in opposite directions. So that's really all there is to it. If it's the first time you're cabling, it might seem a little complicated because we're adding in the extra steps of the ribbing. But basically, when you knit more rows, this is what you get. You get this beautiful rounded crisscross pattern of those ribs weaving in and out of one another. All right, so here is our right cross, here is our left cross, and the same here and here. And even though you can see very clearly, even though sometimes when we did the cable, we had to switch up the orientation of knit and purl, it doesn't show. It looks perfectly seamless because what is showing in the front, you're always doing, maintaining that knit one, purl one progression. So that is how you do the 3/4 right twisted cross and the 3/4 left twisted cross. And I promise if you do it a couple of times, you'll see that it's not nearly as complicated as it might look on the chart or on the pattern itself. So good luck, and I hope you enjoy knitting this Sunlit Tee.